Hello and welcome to a new episode of Adobe Creative Cloud TV. My name is Terry White, and in this episode we're going to cover 5 or more hidden gems in Adobe Illustrator CC. These are 5 or more things that either have been in the program for a while, previous versions of Illustrator, or are new to Illustrator CC, but in any case are usually overlooked, maybe not obvious, or people just never realize that they can do these things. So here are just 5 off the top of my head that I picked out. Also with talking with some folks on the Illustrator team, with just finding out that things that people just don't always see right away in Illustrator. So let's take a look. The first one, again, this is not a new one. This has been in Illustrator for a couple versions now, but it deals with something called the width tool. So here I've just drawn a simple face. Don't critique my drawing ability. I never said I was an artist, but here we are. We've got this face here with a couple different shapes and objects. So what I'd love to do is just add a little bit more depth to it, add a little bit more to it that makes it look like something that was drawn with maybe a little bit more finesse. So here we have the width tool. And if we go ahead and click on any of these paths, we can just go ahead and pull out and basically expand the path out or contract it in anywhere along the path itself. So I can make it bigger that way. Let's undo that. Or maybe bigger this way. There we go. And of course I can also at anywhere along the path pull in to maybe tighten it up or constrain it a little bit better. There we go. So we can make that nose look a little funnier. Same thing here on the mouth. We can just go ahead and pull that down. Now, while you may have discovered the width tool in the past, another thing that, or kind of a bonus gem to that one, is that people don't understand that or realize that you can also save these widths and use them over and over again. So if I go here next to the stroke, there's actually a variable width profile. And these are some of the default profiles that are here, but if I select any one of the ones that I just did, for example, this one on the nose here, let's go back to the selection tool, select the nose, we can now save that as a profile. We can even give it a name, and I can even call it nose. So I can call it whatever I want, and the beauty of this is that if I ever want to now apply that width profile to a different object in the future, I will have nose and be able to do it. Now, of course, since the nose is going backwards, it kind of did things backwards, but you have the ability to apply these width profiles as needed. And also, your width profile will apply based on the thickness of the stroke. So if I make the stroke thicker, we'll be able to see that width profile a little bit better. So just keep in mind that your width profiles are there for you to experiment with or create your own. So if I want to experiment with some of the ones that are already here, I can select a path and just play with some of the ones that were already in Illustrator for me to work with. So keep in mind, not only the width tool, but width profiles. So that's our first hidden gem. Our next hidden gem deals with something that's fairly new inside Illustrator CC, and that is the new enhancements to the pencil tool. So I'm a fan of the pencil tool, so you're going to see me cover this a lot in my videos. But the pencil tool to me is one of the just easier, more natural ways of drawing, and now it gets even better. So if I go to the pencil tool and I use it the old way, and I try and replicate one of these sails, what I would end up with is something that looks very bad or jagged. And that's the problem, is that that's why people don't like the pencil tools, because it's too accurate. So let me undo that and let me go back in, and first of all I'm going to go ahead and pick a color for that to fill with. And now I'm going to go in and double click on the pencil tool, and this is the new option, switching the fidelity from the old very accurate over to anywhere in between, but over to smooth. And that will assist me and help me draw things a little bit more naturally, even if I don't draw it right the first time. So we go ahead and fill that. There we go. We get kind of that color, or a similar color. Here, let's go ahead and get the exact color. We'll just switch over to our eyedropper, sample that color, and that way we get the exact color. So the pencil tool, very nice now with the fidelity option. Again, I get some nice smooth paths, smooth curves, smooth lines. Very cool to be able to do this. And again, we can pick our stroke, and we can also reshape what we've drawn with the pencil tool. Now, that's just my favorite new tool in Illustrator CC. And again, that pencil tool's been there for years, as far back in Illustrator as I can remember, but the fidelity option is new. While we're on the subject, and also I'm going to show you kind of a bonus hidden gem, because I get this question all the time when I'm showing illustrators. Hey, I don't have that under my menu. How did you get to that view? For example, you can create custom views, and this again is an old Illustrator feature. And let's say I want a view for this that always jumps to this artboard, to this sailboat. So if I go to my view menu, I can come down and create a new view, and I can call it whatever I want. Sailboat, for example. So that way when I see it in the menu, I know it can jump to the sailboat. So for example, on a large document or a document with a lot of pieces, I was on the pencil tool view earlier, which takes me to the objects where I'm drawing the new pencil tool. And what I was about to do was jump over to the view menu, jump over to the live corners area. But then people will say, well, wait, when I go under view, I don't have live corners. I don't have pencil, because I created those views manually. So now there's one for sailboat that jumps me over to the sailboat. So whatever you zoomed in on, when you go under view, create a new view, that is your view. That's why I have those things under my view menu, and you don't, because you haven't created those views. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to live corners, a view that I custom created. And that bonus hidden gem about views really wasn't on my list, but I get the question because people will comment and say, or send me an email and say, hey, I don't have a sailboat view, or hey, I don't have a live corner view, because I created it manually the way I just showed you. All right, so live corners. Here, let's go ahead and select an object. And if we select an object and we go to our direct selection tool, we now, because the entire object selected, we get the ability to change any one of these handles, and it will adjust all of the corners for live corners. Now, let's go ahead and undo that. And let's deselect, and let's say you select a specific corner. You get one handle for that corner, and that allows me to pull it up and down to get a live corner radius. So that's a hidden gem that you have live corners now in Illustrator CC. Another bonus hidden gem is that if you double click on the actual handle, you get more options for how you want to adjust that live corner, including the ability to be very precise on the radius and how much or how little or how round or how pointy you want it to be. So live corners, another hidden gem. The pencil tool, a hidden gem. Both of those I'm going to count as number 2. The view thing was a bonus one. Now, number 3, let's go back to our other document, and let's go ahead and jump over to, here we'll zoom out, we'll jump over to this other artboard here, which is empty. We'll zoom in on that a little bit. And again, this is not a new one. This has been here a while, but people often overlook it. It is the blob, B-L-O-B, blob brush. And what the blob brush allows me to do is draw or paint shapes. So for example, that is now a shape. So for example, if I go ahead and click on that, you'll notice that it is a vector shape, even though I used it like a brush. So for example, let's say I do this. Oops, wrong tool, sorry, blob brush, there we go. And we can make the brush bigger. There we go. And so let's say I do that, and then later I do this, and then later I do that. Well, now that is all one object, because I crossed over those strokes. Even though I did 3 separate strokes, because they touched, it became one object. And again, if we go to our direct selection tool, we even get live corners on those objects that we can mess around with. So if your object has corners, you can go ahead and adjust those corners using the handles for the live shapes. So again, the blob brush is the hidden gem. People often don't understand what that tool lets them do versus the pencil, pen, line, and paintbrush tools. You're actually painting with shapes using the blob brush. So blob brush, and while we're at it, let me go over here to the appearance panel, because I noticed something here. And you'll notice that there is an option under the appearance panel, new art has basic appearance. And that means that if I leave that checked by default, every time I was creating a new object with a new tool, it was giving me the black and white stroke. If I uncheck that, then it will remember what my last one was. And so if I now paint or do something, it should be the green because it's remembering what my last one was. So that's just another hidden gem under the appearance panel. And for those of you, there's all kinds of appearance panel hidden gems I can do, but note the appearance panel is under the window menu and you can do some cool things with that. Okay, so our next hidden gem is actually the shape builder. So let's go here to some objects I've got. And the shape builder is when you're trying to draw something. People know about the Pathfinder. So let me bring up Pathfinder to remind you what that is. Pathfinder has been there for years, and it's basically designed to let you join shapes, exclude shapes, do all kinds of things to make two shapes into one or three shapes into one. Well, in the later versions of Illustrator, the Pathfinder's still there, but you get the ability now to do this using a tool instead of a panel. So for example, if I go to the shape builder tool versus the Pathfinder panel, because I have these objects selected, as I hover over them, it will show me or kind of give me a pattern over each one that I hover over, letting me know that that's fair game for me to build a shape with. So how do I connect these two together? I don't have to go to Pathfinder anymore. I can just drag, and those two are now connected. So now those two shapes are one. I want those and those to be one. So now this fork is one object. That it would be like this if I had drawn it with the path and pen tool or pencil tool, line by line, path by path. So it lets me draw primitive shapes with the regular tools and then join them together to make a better shape. So this would have been maybe a half circle, this would have been just a regular rectangle, another rectangle, another rectangle. Now I've got a fork. So Pathfinder is the old way to do it. Shape Builder is the new way to do it. And Shape Builder, that's your fourth hidden gem. All right, so now we're going to head over and talk about one of my favorite kind of really hidden gems. And this came out a while ago in Illustrator, but a lot of people ignored it or forgot it or never knew it or never saw it. And here, let's grab the rectangle or one of the shape tools here. We'll do ellipse. And okay, so let's say I draw an ellipse. And let's go ahead and give that a stroke so we'll be able to see it. Here we'll do a blue stroke on it, and we'll make the stroke nice and big. Sorry to insult your color eyes or your eyes with the colors, but there they are. So now let's say if I draw another one, by default, Illustrator will put it on top. That's the way Illustrator's always worked. It's drawing in, even though you have layers, it's drawing in stacking order. So that new shape became on top. Now let's undo that. Let's undo that. Let's undo that. Let's undo that. And let's go back to the rectangle tool. Let's do the same thing because I think it's easier for me to illustrate this with a rectangle. So now I've got the rectangle, and down at the very bottom on your tool panel, if I zoom in, you have three modes. You have draw normal, which is what Illustrator's always done. You have draw behind and draw inside. So those are three modes you can switch between. And so now if I say draw behind, well, the obvious happens. It draws that new shape behind the one that was already there. So instead of it being on top of it, it's behind it. So that could be kind of handy when you're trying to draw maybe a body or a shape or a person, and you want to draw things behind them like their backpack or their arms or legs or whatever you want behind them. You can draw that now with that mode. But one of my favorite ones is actually here, let me undo that, is draw inside. So for example, if I switch to the third mode, draw inside, what that will do is if I draw a shape, it constrains it to be, notice the green did not come outside of the original shape. So it's drawing it inside. So what that will let me do is now if I select that shape and maybe switch colors, select this shape, select that shape and switch it, there we go. So we get this, this new shape which is there. I can move it around, and it would have been just as easy, by the way, had I just selected where it should be as opposed to trying to select the path because it is still there. But it is being cropped or masked by this other shape. So draw inside and draw behind. That is your fifth hidden gem. But I said there might be more. So let's take a look at a couple more. So draw inside, draw behind, your fifth one. And my next one has to do with color. So I'm not great at picking colors, but I do like when other people can give me colors to pick from. So if we switch over to our web browser, if you head over to Kuler, KULER.adobe.com, and sign in, you can, number one, create your own color themes and color patterns and things to work with. So this is pretty cool, your own color themes. You go to Explore, you can find other color themes that people have created, and you can, if you like one, you can add it or make it a favorite or do what you want to download it and use it in Illustrator. You can do whatever you want to do with it. But of course, you can also have your own, the ones that you have made, and these will show up in Illustrator. So before I show you that, I also want to bring up the fact that we have a Kuler app for iPhone. So for example, if I switch over to my iPhone display here, let's go ahead and bring back up the iPhone so you can see it. Here's the Kuler app running on iPhone, and the beauty of the Kuler app running on your phone is that you have a camera on your phone, which means I can sample this beautiful landscape in front of me here, visiting San Francisco, looking out the window, and I can tap and I can pick colors in this scene. So I can say, yeah, give me some of the red in that building, or brown in that building, give me some of the yellow or gold in that building, and yeah, the darker blue in the clouds there, that's pretty cool. And let's take this color and get some of that beige. And once I create this theme, I can go ahead and tap the check mark, and there it is, and I can give this theme a name. So for example, we'll call it SF Window. There we go, and done. And now that theme, because I'm signed in with my Adobe ID, is syncing up to the cloud. And if I head back to the browser and refresh, I should see that theme show up, and it did, so it's in my browser. But more importantly, if I head back to Illustrator, here's a hidden gem, is that you have a Kuler panel inside Illustrator CC, and if you refresh that panel, you should also pick up any themes that you are working with on the website, including the one you marked as a favorite and your own theme that you just made. And so if I want to color some of the artwork that I was messing with here, let's go ahead and make the boxes purple. We'll change the fill to that color. There we go. And change the fill to that color. We can play around with these colors that we grabbed. If I want the this particular box to be a color, I can, or stroke, or whatever. So here, let's actually get out of, we'll drill down on too far. There we go. So for example, if we go here, we can say, hey, I'd love to get some of that sky color we were working with, or we saw out the window. So cool to have color themes coming from the Kuler website, or if you have an iPhone or iOS device, getting them from the Kuler app, from pictures you've taken or pictures you can just take right on the spot in the app, or scan right on the spot in the app. So that was a bonus hidden gem. Here's your last bonus one. So we're actually going to get 7 out of these 5 hidden gems or more. Under the File menu, and this is mainly for people that are packaging, or placing objects from Photoshop or pictures or other Illustrator files or what have you. If you placed linked objects and you want to now send this Illustrator file to someone else or service provider, or take it to home to work on or whatever, and you want all of those things that you placed to go with it, you can say package, and that will package up everything, including all the links, the fonts, and everything else you used, in a folder that you can then zip, send off, put in your Creative Cloud folder and share, whatever you want to do, so that people will be able to not only have the Illustrator file you worked on, but also all of the links that make that Illustrator file work. So those are your 5 or more hidden gems inside Illustrator CC. Hope you learned something, and we'll catch you on the next one. you.